Hello everybody and welcome to what is the finale of Season 1 of Cal's Questions. Today's episode is exceptionally exciting because we have a surprise guest. My co-host and extraordinary gentleman, Mr. Callum, does actually not know who we're interviewing, but I will introduce him right now. It will be my co-host, Mr. Callum. We are interviewing you today, Cal.
Really?
We really are. To end the season of the Cal's Questions, we are going to be finding out more about our show's namesake person.
That's really kind.
No worries. So I've been planning this for a couple of weeks. I've got some questions I've asked around to help me with this. And yeah, hopefully I've got enough questions to fill up the hour that we normally take up with people's lives. But if not, I'm sure we could chat a bit.
Oh man, that's really kind. I had no idea that you were doing this. Well, yeah, I'm always happy to talk about myself.
Excellent. Our specialist topic today is... It's going to sound like I'm really sucking up and bigging up your ego, but it's being a great player. So normally we talk to people about how to DM well or how to advertise well, but this one we're just talking about how to be a better player at a table, because there's a lot of content out there, I'm sure you'll agree, how to be the best DM you could be for your players. But I feel, in the nicest way, more players need to learn how to be better for their DM, if you ask me, and you're an exceptional player at all of my tables, and everyone else's, I assume. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, if that's all right.
Absolutely fine. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm happy to do that, and I love being a player at your tables. And yeah, I'll happily share what wisdom I have, I guess.
Excellent. So my first question, let's talk about you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I know a fair bit about you now. We've been friends for a good 6 months-ish, I think. But how did you get into TTRPGs in the first place? What's your sort of origin story, if you like?
Well, I mean, it was a few years ago now. Dungeons and Dragons was my first. I've had a few other games sprinkled in there, but D&D was my first. Took a while to sort of... I came to it quite late, really. It was always seen when I was in school as probably like, if you're super nerdy and uncool, you would do Dungeons and Dragons. But in my mind, I was always thinking like, oh, it'd be really cool though, wouldn't it? I'd love to give it a go. So, you know, I used to be like this cool skater dude, I suppose, and I was always had that sort of vibe going for me. But really, inside me, there's always this little nerd who always wanted to do like D&D and roll dice and do all that good stuff. Heavily influenced by Final Fantasy and RPG games on PlayStation 1, and things like that. I've said this before in other interviews, but I remember like the first time I thought dragons are cool. It was this game on the PS1 called Dragon Valor, and it was like this crap game that no one's really heard of, but you traveled through time slaying dragons, and it was the coolest thing ever to me. And yeah, so I always had an interest in D&D, but I came to it quite late in life. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. Outside of that, I do voice acting and comedy and various things, and I pop up on shows here, there, and everywhere. A couple of yours included.
Indeed.
There, Paul.
Indeed. It's interesting because I've heard you mention it before, how, like, oh, I couldn't be into D&D because I was a cool skater dude, but in my school or when I was younger, the like Venn diagram of skater dudes and D&D people, there were quite a bit of overlap. It's interesting that where I grew up, that would have been fine for you to be into both of those, but for you it wasn't. It's interesting that for me there was an overlap, but for you it was two completely separate groups of people. I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, I think where I grew up, in I want to say like, South Wales. I don't want it to seem as like this really sort of rough place, because I love Wales. Wales is great, but you know, when I grew up, it was very cliquey, like very, you had skater people, you had like you know, like the American high school sort of thing, the jocks and all them.
Oh, good lord.
And I mean, I loved skateboarding and stuff, but oh, God, I'd be quite happy to, but it's hard to find someone
Yeah.
to do it with. And I've said this in other interviews as well. It's not like one of those things where you can walk out into the street and go, "Who wants to play D&D with me?" You just sort of, it's hard to find your people, you know. But better late than ever.
Yeah.
I found my people. Yeah. Everyone I've ever played with doing D&D and other TTRPGs have been awesome. And what a welcoming community. What a lovely group of people to be involved with. How everyone hypes each other up. I feel so privileged, honoured even, to be like so welcomed. And I mean, people mention me on Twitter and things, and I barely know them, and I'm just like, it's just really sweet. It's just such a lovely community, everyone hyping each other up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I gotta admit, even now, while I wouldn't say I was like a successful person on Twitter or someone with loads of followers, it didn't matter that when I had 300 followers to when I get new followers now. I'm always like, why are you following me? Why are you stalking me? It's a bit weird. So I think even after all this time, I'm sure you'll agree, I'm still not used to the idea of people being a fan of anything that I produce. I'm like, why are other people watching this? That's strange.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yes, definitely. Right. So what was it about TTRPGs that got you hooked in the first place? You mentioned the interest in dragons, but was there anything else that drew you to the idea of playing make-believe, effectively, which is what, you know, TTRPGs are? What sort of drew you and got you hooked? What was that moment when you were like, yes, this is for me?
Make-believe is a key thing there, because escapism, I mean, a lot of people mention it, but it is, in my mind, the ultimate form of escapism. Mm-hmm. It's if you can take yourself out of the harshness of the real world for a bit, then I don't think there's a better activity out there.
Yeah.
A more welcoming activity as well to get involved with. For me, it was also a chance to sort of show off and try and be funny. And you know, I did some comedy in uni, and it was around that sort of time where I thought, do you know, like, eventually found my people to play D&D and other TTRPGs with, and it was just the perfect sort of scenario to make people laugh as well. I mean, there's, you know, you can play games and they can be really serious and other things, which I enjoy as well. You know, the actual acting, the grittiness of some campaigns is brilliant. But what got me hooked in it in the first place was the absurd, the hilarity, the scenarios you find yourself in, and making everyone laugh, which I've always loved. I like putting smiles on people's faces. And it was the perfect thing for me, and that's what's led to me writing for the latest, my first stand-up show in nearly 10 years, which is going to be D&D themed and audience participation based, and it's the perfect gelling together of things, I think. And so that's what's got me hooked, just basically laughter, essentially.
I gotta admit, I'm with you. I love the absurdity of D&D, the absolute chaos that it can bring to people's lives. And if for 2 to 3 hours a week, even, I could just make someone forget about whatever it is they need to forget about, that's a really nice gift that I can give people. And it's just our personalities that we're gifting, but people rarely take it on board and rarely do seem to enjoy the crazy shenanigans that we provide for them, which, again, is still a bit weird, but hey, that's on them.
A lot of people have actually got in touch with me, DMs on Twitter or whatever, and just said, it's funny, and, you know, it warms my heart, because, I mean, a stranger from whatever part of the world who's gone out of their way to say, that was funny, that show, you know, whether it's Homebrew Havoc or whatever, it's great, and it still blows my mind.
Absolutely. I'm currently DMing like 2 shows and I'm part of 3 or 4, And a few times recently, a couple of days beforehand, someone's typed into Discord or messaged me and gone, "Oh my god, is it game day yet?" And like, well, it's not. But I really, really like that excitement that you're bringing 2 days before we even, press and record or starting dice rolls. Like, yeah, I can't wait until Tuesday, or I can't wait until Thursday, or whatever day it is. I'm like, yes, that level of excitement is fantastic. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm sure you'll absolutely agree with that. The excitement that other people bring to it, especially when they really dive into their characters, like we do for Homebrew Havoc, like everybody else does for Blades in the Dark that I run. I think it's so inspiring, and sometimes just knowing that I'm doing that for the players is enough to get me to prep. Because otherwise, I'm not sure what inspiration I have to prep, short of doing it 2 minutes before the show, which I have done on multiple occasions.
Well, I think if you've got a group of role-playing people who really like to just run with it, and like the Homebrew Havoc guys, I mean, Shiv, Ailey, Tony, they're absolutely brilliant. They really, really are. They're an absolute pleasure to sort of role-play alongside, and I think in terms of campaigns I've been involved with, it's probably the most that I've been able to sit back and let them.
Yeah.
I'm usually trying to be the funny one. I don't have to with them, and it's so chill, and they are so funny, and they are so good at what they do. I love sitting back and just watching them do their thing as well. Yeah.
I got my prep for those sessions are getting less and less, because I can trust you guys to work with a very small amount and extend it into this big world or big time-consuming thing. So I no longer have to prep 3 hours of content. I prep about 10 minutes of content, and then I'll see what you guys create, and I'll work off that, and I can trust you guys to do really well, and I can trust myself with the improv to work with whatever you guys provide me, whether that's, a sentient mini fridge or a custard-covered otter or whatever you guys want to do. And I'll just work with it. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's create this chaos, and we'll see where it ends.
Can't wait for Furry Fight Night, man. It's gonna be sick.
Good lord. Oh, yes. Speaking of Homebrew Havoc and your amazing character, Dodo, who people can check out on Thursday evenings, where did your inspiration for Dodo come from? And where do you generally get inspiration from your characters in general? Like, where do you get them from?
Honestly, it's a tricky question, because it is one of those things where I look at it and I look at what's available on, in all the source material that we've got there, and I mean, not including homebrew in this, which is endless. You could do whatever, especially a Homebrew Havoc, where you just said do whatever. But I think it was because Strixhaven came out and they had the Owlin race, and I was like, I really want to do it. I really want to play an owl. But I wasn't just like going to play an owl, have him flying around everywhere. I'm always thinking of like ways you can tweak them a bit and make them a bit more unique. So I made him really fat. And I hope people have got a good image in their mind of what he looks like. And Colin the mini fridge, I think it was Ailey's partner that just sort of maybe threw it out there, and I took it and just sort of like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. I mean, the idea behind I wanted to do a take on the sort of drunken monk thing class, but I didn't want him to be just like this absolute drunk causing chaos all the time, because it's not that unique. I think I want him to be like a connoisseur of drink and unlock the potential of things through drink, and sort of link it with the monk sort of meditation and and figuring out what drink enhances what attributes and things like that, and just the sort of the alchemy side of it. And I wanted to make him a business person as well, just because I think it's opened up a lot of doors and fun stuff to happen. And I think you've got to give characters the sort of thing to really care about to begin with. Even something like that, if they're a business person, they're going to care about their business, and if something bad happens to that, blah blah blah, it's going to keep things going and develop stories. So yeah, I mean, that's Dodo, but it's kind of like, honestly, I just want to make stuff. I just go, what will be the most fun?
Yeah.
I think that's the simplest answer. I mean, yeah, there's story opportunities with being a tavern owner, etc., and all the stuff that you know of that's in the background that hasn't been publicly said. But yeah, I also didn't want him to fly because he's too fat.
That's fair. That's fair. I think what I really like about Dodo and being a character in a world that owns property, even just owns property, it gives your DM a chance to put people in that property, especially when it's like a business. Because we've now discussed people who work at Dodo's Tavern, their profit margin, we've had an investor in Dodo's Tavern, and it gives me more freedom to play around with how it can interact with you, and it allows you, if you don't mind me saying, I assume, to really invest your character into the world.
Yeah, it's like I say, you give them something to care about, but it makes it more real. And if he's going in there and asking to look at the financials, I mean, for a lot of people that might not be fun, but for me, that's kind of like, this world really exists, and these things matter to the character, and it makes it feel like I'm actually looking after this business.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, and that's what you want. You want to get lost in the world, and something as simple as that can mean that you've got that bit of literal investment in it. I guess I've literally, in my mind, got taverns opening up around Antierso, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to do what I want, do what I can to sort of keep them going and keeping them successful and expanding. Might not have a successful business outside of D&D or in the real world, but I own a shitload of taverns.
Yeah,
really. And up here I do. Up here I do.
I really like as well that, like, you're a fantastic role player, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt. But for those who aren't, for those who struggle with it, I think giving them something to care about beyond just a person in the world, just like some physical item or property or building, I think it really allows or helps non-role players to really understand their character's motivations. It's like, instead of being like, oh, I don't know what I do, it's like, well, in this scenario, you care about profiting from your business. Even if you don't have any other personality traits, just work on that. How do you imagine a businessman operating in this scenario? So while it's great that you've got it and you are a great role player outside of that, I think something like that, give something like that to a player, and it will help bring them out of their shell.
Absolutely. If you just got to plant these seeds. It doesn't even have to be as big as have a business.
Yeah,
I think if it could be anything. I mean, how do they make a living in this world before they've become an adventurer or something? Anything will do. Even if they're running a little fruit and veg stall or something.
Yeah.
Anything. Maybe they play for the local sports team or something, and something happens. Just off the top of my head now, I mean,
that'd be good. Actually, I'd like to see a player do that. Play for the local sports team.
But there's things like this. Any little things you take from real life and think, just something that's not just I'm an adventurer and I'm going to slay the big bad. Have something in the background. Mm-hmm. Other things going on while you're not there in the background. What's happening with the business? What's happening is while you're away, has your sports team started to lose loads of games because you were the best player or something? I don't know.
I like it.
Whatever.
I like it.
It just makes the world feel lived in and makes it feel real. So I always try to go a little bit further than I have a big sword and I'm going to go and slay the big evil.
Yeah.
I like to have a lived-in world with little things here and there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of different worlds, are there any systems or modules? So I know we run Homebrew Havoc, and I was about to say we also run Descent into Avernus, but you are part of that. Are you part of that?
I am.
You are part of that. Wow, my mind went blank there. Sorry. I'm running too many games.
I'm clearly not that memorable.
No, I'm
It's
so
fine.
sorry. You definitely are. It's because I've also got Blades in the Dark that I just started up, and there's enough crossover between players that I get confused mentally in my head. So I do
Well,
apologise.
no, you are so busy and you do so many campaigns and stuff.
Oh, I'm starting a new one tomorrow as well, but I'm a player in that one, and it's not streamed, so I care a little bit less. Right, so I was about to say we run Descent into Avernus, but I think I've diverged so aggressively away from Descent into Avernus, I don't think we
Yeah.
can say that. But are there any modules or sort of systems, so even outside of D&D, are there any that you would love to play and haven't got the opportunity, or started playing? I'm thinking of Curse of Strahd and would love to go back to.
There's a few. I mentioned one already, which is Strixhaven. I'd love to give that a go and have the whole wizard school thing.
Yeah.
I'm not like a Harry Potter fan or anything, but I just think it'd be cool. Ones I've played before. I think the first module I ever played. No. One that the first 5e one I played was Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is good. I mean, as an introductory D&D thing, that's brilliant. I recommend that to anyone. Tomb of Annihilation, which is just brutal. Never have I gone through so many characters. I think finished that campaign on, I think, 7 character deaths.
Jesus.
Which is fine for me because I enjoy playing characters and doing accents and things like that. So
yeah.
just, keep them rolling. But yeah, that was quite painful. But I would like to do that again, actually, and see if I can beat that tally. Curse of Strahd is great as well with you, Paul, DMing it. Bit of a shame that had to end with those commitments and stuff, but it happens. That's part of D&D. The big bad is always scheduling.
Yep.
That's just how it is. I'd love to go back and try a Strahd campaign as well. Yeah, that's kind of it, really. I mean, there are others sprinkled in here and there, but those ones stick out to me, really.
What about in terms of like systems, so outside of D&D? So I know I run Blades in the Dark, Lancer has gained so much popularity recently, at least in my head. Is there anything outside of D&D you would be interested in trying?
I'm up for trying anything. When I was first getting into TTRPGs, a lot of it was I was the player usually rather than the DM, and a lot of the DMs that I played with sort of took, I don't know, a Pathfinder and things like that, and sort of tweaking it and making it slightly homebrew based off of it. Most of the stuff I've ever played has been homebrew rule wise. So yeah, I'd love to give, like I've had an interest in the Star Wars ones and things like that, so I'm up for trying anything. I'll give anything a go. Played Call of Cthulhu as well, which is great. I'd love to do that again. There's loads. Blades in the Dark as well. I mean, having watched your first one with all those guys, that it just sounds amazing. So fun.
It is absolutely. That was a session 0 where nothing really mattered. So I'm quite excited to see where that goes.
Another one is, we had Andy Lever on the other day, Lost Haven, and he's made Irizumi, which is the Culture Up Core rule set, and I'd love to give that a go as well. I mean, that sounded really cool. The whole Yakuza-inspired RPG sounds amazing. There's loads of options out there now. There's loads of options, and I just think I'd love to try them all if only I had the time.
I learned this morning there's a Doctor Who TTRPG, and I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, so I might pick that up. But I've got Strixhaven, so I'm sort of spoiled for choice. Although my partner has said I'm limited to 4. I'm allowed to play 4 D&D campains. And I'm currently in 4, so...
Oh, no. It does take a lot of time. It takes over everything. And, you're putting aside a good few hours a week for one thing. I'm actually working on, and have been for about a year, and I keep just sort of coming back to it. I don't know if you're a fan of the movie called Chicken Run.
That's not where I thought that sentence was going, sure.
I am making a sort of Chicken Run inspired TTRPG. where
What?
where you are a chicken and you are the main story is that you're trying to escape.
I am
And
so interested. Why is this the first time I've heard about this? What the
because
hell?
I've been keeping it well under because
Yeah.
I keep changing it a lot, and I'm nearly at the point now where I can run a test for it. Um, I I just thought that'd be really cool,
Yeah.
like everyone playing a chicken and everyone trying to roll dice to try and get out of this, while different scenarios get thrown at them.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, I thought that would work, and so I started writing it, and last year.
That
And it simplified dice rules, homebrew once
yeah.
again, inspired by my friends' TTRPGs that they homebrewed and I played when I was getting into
Mm.
TTRPGs. A few of their ideas I have nicked and
That's
are
fine.
going to, and taking it to use in this because that's what I was used to and that's what I learned
Hmm.
TTRPGs through. Um, but yeah, I'll get back. It's been a while since I've tweaked at it, but I'm gonna get back into it, and you're
Yeah,
more than welcome to
definitely.
be my guinea pig slash
Oh, I
chicken.
would be honored. I was gonna say one of my next questions is if you were asked to DM anything or modules specifically tomorrow, what module would you go for? But it turns out we're gonna be playing Chicken Run tomorrow, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it a bit of time. I wouldn't be comfortable checking it out tomorrow. Could probably, improv some stuff, but there's a few of the rules I need to tweak on it to make it more.
So, with that in mind, then, what module would you run tomorrow? Like, if brand new players never played D&D before, they've all come to you and said, tomorrow we need a dungeon master, and you're forced to do it. What would you run?
Yeah, I'd run Lost Mines of
Yeah.
Fandelver. Yeah, it's a nice, easy introduction to the 5e system, and it's good fun. I mean, I had a blast playing it, and I've done it a few times actually.
Mhm.
With all different scenarios happening, and it was great. I strongly recommend it. It's a great introductory module. Fantastic.
Excellent. So now we're coming around to sort of your specialist subject. The reason you're here, the reason I've interviewed you, aside from the fact that I wanted to surprise you, becoming a better player at a table,
Yes.
being the best player you can be. Just straight off the bat, then, what advice would you give to people to become a better player at the table? Assuming the DM is wanting that to happen, if that makes sense.
Well, if you're looking at it through the improv sort of lens, so when I was in uni, I did a bit of improv and a bit of
Hmm.
stand up and stuff, and I know that that's not the case for everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit more comfortable in doing improv and just thinking off the cuff and
Hmm.
rolling with the punches. But the best rule, the best law of improv, if you want to call it a law, one of the tips for improv is obviously the yes and.
Yeah.
So then you say yes and it just keeps going and going and going, and it just allows it to flow. That applies to DMing as well, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, you want to keep it that way as well. But as a player, if someone starts speaking, you could yes and it and keep them going on their side, bounce back and forth, bounce back and forth. I think letting people don't take the limelight, I suppose. Like you've got to let people talk. It's once I started out because, like I said, I like to show off and try and be the funny one all the time. And I very quickly learned that trying to talk when it's not appropriate in terms of if there's if I'm not really involved in that scene or
Yeah.
whatever it is. um I learned that you don't want to pipe up and start throwing out jokes or whatever. You've got to find your moment to speak,
Hmm.
and you have to let the other characters breathe because it's their game as well as yours. Just let them shine as well, because you don't want anyone at the table to feel like they're not getting the full experience.
Yeah.
So I think I have as much fun as when everyone else is having fun, if you know what I mean. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want everyone to shine and everyone to smile. And I hope now that anyone who plays with me feels like I let them breathe and shine and really show their characters. For taking Homebrew Havoc, for example,
Yeah.
I like to think that I haven't hogged the light and let Hawthorne shine and Kiva shine and Kata shine and just do it. So that's a big tip.
Right.
And if you're an extrovert, if you're someone who has been on stage and stuff and wanted to show off and stuff and use RPGs for that, you just gotta let people shine. You can't hog the limelight. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest tip I can give because it's a biggie. I've had, the thought of having someone say, Cal's talking too much or something.
This whole show is about him. Even from like a dungeon master's perspective as well, I can, because I've had that type of person at a table before, and I can feel that the other people are getting fidgety or angsty, that person's taking up too much time. And I find myself having to work extra hard to bring other people into the forefront of the story, even if it's their story or their moment to talk. I'm like, oh, okay, so what do you think? What are you trying to do? And when I'm having to do that as a dungeon master, it puts a lot of pressure very suddenly on them that they might not experience. Some players don't want the limelight. They're happy being the nervous, staying back. I'll talk when I'm comfortable. My wife is one of those players. God bless her. But yeah, absolutely. I think giving other people at your table the appropriate time to talk and be the center of that session or that moment in the campaign rarely allows them to fulfill their character arc, because that's really what you want. If you think of it like a TV show, yes, there's a main character in a TV show, but sometimes that main character isn't in that episode or isn't the focus of that particular story arc. And I think that's the same with D&D as well. I hope you agree. Everybody at the table has to have their moment eventually. It might not be this episode. It might not be this 2 or 3 episodes. I know at the moment we're focusing a lot on Cadis, because we're in her hometown, it's her family. You guys are still doing your thing, you, Hawthorne and Kiva, but next town, it might be Hawthorne that's the focus. Next town after that might be Kiva. So I'm hoping that when we get to those moments, the others will take a step back and be comfortable with that and be okay with it. And trust both me and the other players that my time is coming. My moment is coming. I might not be talking much this session, but next session, it's all about me. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's good to hear. I think it'd be inappropriate for example, Dodo to, when Kiva's telling her story to with the tree and all the critters around her, that Dodo just comes in and does something and just starts talking. It's just not appropriate. But I've been in games where players have done that and done that sort of thing. And the thought, Ailey, who plays Kiva, she's made a brilliant character and given this whole story behind it and literally written a sort of fairy tale, if you want to go alongside it. I've been in games where there would be someone who, when she's telling that story, would come in and say something, and it's just like, no. Those are the times you sit back and you let the players shine. They put a lot of work into their story, their character, whatever it may be. Let them roll with it, let them shine, because that's the moment they've been looking forward to sort of really let it rip and go with it, So that's my biggest tip, and it's more of a sort of politeness sort of thing than anything else. But I have seen it, and it does make things uncomfortable. No,
I completely agree with that. I think Ailey is a great example, and a sneaky tip for DMs here from myself. Talk to your players and see if they want that moment, that special time to shine, because that's what I did with Ailey. She said to me after I got her talking to the tree, which is a weird sentence in and of itself, to be honest. She said, I've got some stories I'd like to tell the tree if you give me the opportunity. It's like, right, next session, you're getting an opportunity. Get
Absolutely,
ready.
yeah.
This is what we're doing. And there's going to be a couple of others because the story isn't finished yet to this poor tree. So I know that I'm preparing for her moment to shine in the next couple of sessions where she can have that, spotlight. So I'm really, really excited for that. Stepping away a little bit from that tip, let's say, what would you say is the biggest player taboo? And things you're like, not so much red flag that would get them kicked from the group. Nothing too extreme, but one way like, no, you can't do that, but no.
There's a few things that are taboo and a few no-nos in there. I guess, I mean, there's the extreme example, of course, where you start talking about really touchy subjects, which is why session zeros are so important. So you get to know the boundaries of a game, and you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people that you're going to be taking on a story with, and spending a few hours a week, or maybe even twice a week, or whatever it may be. So that's important. Session zero, lay the ground rules in terms of what's going to be mentioned, what's not, what players can say to other players. Keep it safe, keep it fun, and keep it appropriate. I think, but then again, your game's your game. I'm just saying that, just want to make sure everyone's comfortable, I think another taboo is during combat. Now, during combat, I've seen a few occasions where someone will go, your character should do this when it's not their turn.
Yeah.
So I think if it's that character's turn, I'm a big fan of just let that character speak for that moment. Unless, there are some occasions where they might want to jump in and do something as a reaction or whatever it may be within the rules. But I think you see it where they go, "Oh, you should do this," and you think, "Hang on, it's my character. This is what I believe. I would like them to do. This is what I would see them doing at this moment." It's not for another character, another player, to say that their other person's character should do that thing. I think that's a bit of a taboo. Maybe some people are more comfortable with it than others, but from what I've seen, I would say, during combat, your character, you say what you want that character to do.
If it's not your turn, pipe down, unless you are asked advice.
Yes. Or you're doing a reaction or setting up something like that. Combat is a different beast, especially in 5e, where it's a bit... but it's...
garbage. The word you're looking for there is garbage.
I prefer meh.
Creatively restricting, yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, but there are some housekeeping things you can do like that to keep it flowing and keep it fun. That is another taboo. I mean, there are others as well, and one of them I've already said, like butting in when people's shining. Yeah, I think that's a big one for the combat anyway. Like letting players shine again. But combat is a different scenario, and I think that's more so because it's that big word metagaming again. It's metagaming at the end of the day. I mean, I think sometimes like it can be taken too far, where you're like spending a long time prepping the next move.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking of it like in game, in character time spent, it kind of takes it out of the realism of it,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think too much metagaming can be a bit harmful to a campaign as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I personally, I don't have many of these people at my tables just because they're not the type of people I attract. But I find min-maxers, when they're playing with someone who is not a min-maxer, tend to be guilty of that a little bit more. I don't want to, not all min-maxers, most of you are fine. But I have found where it's like, someone will tell a fellow player that, oh, if you do this and that, and then I can do this that game. I'm like, well, hold on, you don't know she has those spells at all. So what are you talking about? And secondly, that might be the most damage you can do, but if that's not, ironically, what your character would do, then that's probably not what your character should do,
Yeah. I think and that's an excellent point. I think I get a lot of joy out of just like making crap characters.
Yeah.
Like,
I won't
really
lie, I
poor.
have rarely noticed that about your characters.
I think, like, I like to really sort of I role play to the point where they're going to be rubbish at that. They're going to be rubbish at that, and I end up going, "Oh, right, they're rubbish at everything." Like they're not a seasoned adventurer. Those are some of the most fun characters to play as, and then the reward you get for like rolling really well on something is tenfold because your crap character has just overcome this big challenge. I love those sort of things.
I gotta admit, there was a moment. I think for whatever reason, I'd made you roll multiple times in a session, and every single time you said, "Oh, I'm crap at this. Oh, I'm crap at this. Oh, I'm crap at this." And my wife, who watches all of my stuff, said, "What's Callum good at?" I was like, "I have no idea. He can't all his stats are negative. I'm sure. Like you did standard array and somehow got crap in all of it. I don't understand."
I like it. I like that sort of stuff. If you're just like gonna roll a dice and then just instantly smash everything, or you're gonna say like if you're gonna metagame and say if you do this, this, and that, and then the counter's over or that social interaction's over because you discuss with someone their stat is this, so they should do this. I just think if you make your character crap, then every challenge you overcome is just more rewarding. That's just me.
I also feel like mistakes on the character part are opportunities for better role storytelling or more interesting storytelling.
Yeah, I think so. They don't always have to be a seasoned adventurer.
No.
I mean, that'll come as the campaign goes on and they level up. That's kind of what the level up system alludes to in my mind. Is they get better, they get more experience, they learn things.
Yeah.
Dodo, whereas, he has trained as a monk, but not your typical monk. So he's not going to be good at some stuff, and he's not going to be amazing at everything because he's been running a bar for so long, and he's put on weight and he's a bit settled and lazy, and it's like that. I love that sort of thing. I don't like to be put all my stats in one thing. I like to keep them crap. I know that's like I just do. I just like a crap character. One
thing I'm thinking of actually, and I don't think I've ever said this in terms of a tip for players: respect the level that you're coming in at.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're coming in at a start of a campaign at level 1, don't give your player a really, I've been training for 1,000 years. But I can only cast one spell. Like, no, you obviously have not been training for 1,000 years. You're no better than a farmer with a really pointy stick. Like, if you're coming in at level 5, level 6, which I tend to start some of my campaigns at, by all means, be a seasoned veteran. I don't care. Great, awesome. But don't start, I'm an elf and I'm 2,000 years old and I've only just left my house. What? No.
First time he's gone outside. He's opened the door. The sunlight.
I just never touched a sword in my life. Like, okay, well. No, I come from a long line of warriors. I myself have served in the battle of 100 years. I'm also level 1 and can only just about lift up a greatsword. Like, respect your level. By all means, create a massive backstory. But if you're level 1, don't come in with a massive backstory of all the combats you've won, because they would have been against ants with all the experience you've obviously not gained. But, it's just one of the weird things that I've seen players do. And I won't lie, when I first started playing TTRPG, I was hugely guilty of this, which is why I know how silly it sounds. But yeah. Don't do that, guys.
One of the things, I mean, when we were doing Curse of Strahd, I had Otto, who was a fighter, and I put in his background that he was a soldier, and he did this. But we started at like level 3 or something, level 2. And I might as well say it now because that campaign is not it has been cancelled due to scheduling. It was all a lie. He was none of that was true. He was not a soldier. He was just a chef. He was just a guy cooking for the soldiers, but he developed this big backstory where he was like a hero. He was only level 3, so something's not right with everything he was saying.
That is how you do it. That's how you create an epic backstory full of combat. Just make it absolute BS. I love that. I really liked Otto. He was good.
Yeah, it was good fun. Maybe I'd love to do Curse of Strahd one day again. So
another tip for players, and this is a personal one. If your name is a single syllable, your DM will love you. If your name is 7 syllables, you're not playing at my table. So
yeah, well, that's what I did with Dodo. His name's Dodo, but his full name is Tyllian Feddw Doeth, and I only made it that just to piss Paul off, basically.
Yeah, you did.
But I call him Dodo just to make nice on him.
So these next couple of questions, up until the second to last one, let's say, are from people that have asked around.
Oh, really? Oh, that's really kind.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It was like our Homebrew Havoc people and my wife. So I didn't ask around a lot, but it's
still nice.
So yeah, there we go. Right, we'll do that one first. If you're playing a streamed game, so one that there's an audience, and if you're playing a home game, so there's not an audience, do you play it differently?
Not really.
No?
I think not really. I think it's maybe a slight difference, but I think you're always looking to have fun. And I think whether you're on stream or you're around a table in the back of a bar or a pub or something, I think you're always looking to make people smile, laugh, or whatever the emotional experience you want that campaign to have, I think not so much do I play differently from streaming to not streaming. I think it varies from campaign to campaign, what character I play, what the vibe is of said campaign. Yes, there is a bit more pressure on streaming to be entertaining and be funny and keep people watching because, streaming is entertainment.
Yeah.
But similarly, I want to make sure people at the table, as a DM or a player, to make sure they're all having a good time as well. Yeah. So what you see of me on stream is a pretty good representation of what you'd see with me if you guys were all over at mine and we were rolling dice on the table,
Ah, that's nice. Just real quick, because I've got a couple more questions. From a DM's perspective, it's hugely different. What I do on stream is nothing like... Or there's so much more that I do on stream than I would do in a home game. I'm still as descriptive. I'm still as engaging with my players. I still bounce off players the same way. Yeah. But I have to talk to the viewers as an audience, as an extra player, especially in Homebrew Havoc, where they've quickly become one somehow. So I have to include them. I have to make sure it's new player friendly. I have to encourage you guys to be more descriptive of your words and how you envision it. So from my perspective, hugely different. But it's good to know from yours it's not. And what I get on stream is what I would get at a normal table. That's nice. Next question. What would you tell people, and I'm one of the people, who want to get into streaming or podcasting or talking in general, that hate their own voice? And do you still have that at the back of your mind still sometimes, or not at all now? And how do you get over it if you do? Because I hate my voice. I never listen to myself back if I can help it. And I know others are the same. So what advice do you have for me and them? But most importantly, me.
I think, first of all, your voice is absolutely fine, Paul. I don't know what you're talking about. Secondly, I think if it's TTRPGs, like I say about the community, everyone's really welcoming. So I don't think with TTRPGs there's that much. You won't get criticised from what I've seen if you don't, if you're not comfortable with your voice or whatever. But I think for me, it's like what I get nervous about is if an accent's not coming off or the way I'm acting that with the voice doesn't come across appropriately, because that's what I do. Yeah. I mean, I do voiceovers and voice acting for stuff. So if it's not coming across when I listen it back to how it was in my head, I get pretty annoyed. Also, I'm really picky about like mic levels and stuff, as you know. Yeah. I'm always saying before every session, does it sound good? Does it sound good?
I haven't moved anything. I haven't changed in any single way, but what about now?
It changes. I don't know what it is. Like it just changes. I think it's that side of things that really sort of
Yeah.
me a little bit. I want to make sure everything's sounding as good as it possibly can. In terms of advice for people who think they have a bad voice, first of all, if you're doing TTRPGs, yeah, I mean the community is great. I don't have much experience with like other streaming things. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a streamer because I don't really do my own channel or anything like that. I do it with other people's channels and invited to other people's tables, which I'm so grateful for. I just, I love it. Like the fact that these tables are open for me. I thank you so much to everyone. It's tricky for me to say. I think it's a confidence thing, I guess. And with confidence things, the more you do something, the more comfortable you are with doing something. Give it a go is what I would say. I can't really offer too much advice in terms of if you're not happy with your voice. I think you just keep doing it and you'll get better at it and more confident with it. And I don't think accents and doing voices is that critical to a game of D&D or whatever TTRPG it is.
Yeah.
Even if you could do like one or two accents or whatever, just give it a go. Players appreciate that.
Yeah.
We appreciate that there's a little bit of, attempt to try and do something a bit quirky and a bit different. But as long as you're describing things well and you're setting the tone of something as, how you would, as a DM would want the players to receive it, I think that's enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what your voice looks like, as long as everyone's having a good time.
Doesn't matter what your voice looks like, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we've just said.
Yeah, doesn't matter what your voice looks like.
Your voice can look like anything. It'd just be fine.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and that's a very good question as well. I just think you if you're not comfortable with it,
get there. Tough.
I'm sorry. I wish I could be more helpful with that. But because go on.
One thing I noticed, or actually I didn't notice, my wife noticed, is the voice I have on stream as a dungeon master is very different to my normal voice. To the point of even when... So we're starting stream, I do hello, I introduce people, I say hi to new followers, say hi to you guys, and then I go, okay, this session is starting. After that, apparently all my mannerisms, my voice, my level, the way that I speak completely changes, apparently. And when I stop the session, it takes me a little bit of time to go back to my normal voice. Yeah. So for about an hour after every session, I'm talking to my wife as if I'm being her dungeon master, and she's like, you're not in charge of me, right? Like, oh yeah, you don't need to roll that.
That's good. Yeah, you should carry some dice with you.
Yeah.
You go. But it's like, I suppose it's the same as like people say that you've got a phone voice and things like that. When you speak to people on the phone, your voice slightly changes. Your voice and your mannerisms and things will always change in relation to what the situation is. Whether it's a job interview, whether you're doing a presentation in front of loads of people, whether you're on stream, whatever it is, that's just human nature. I think I'm guilty of that as well. It just happens.
Yeah. I pretty much make phone calls for a living, and I can guarantee you I have a telephone voice. It's a customer service voice. Anyone who works in customer services understands. You can go from, yes, you're right, to, hello, my dear, how are you today? Do you need any help packing your bags?
Yeah.
Get out my shop.
Yeah. Get out of my shop, please.
Get out quicker. Come on, let's go. Right, final question then before we say goodbye, because I feel like we've taken up enough of your precious time as is. And I have left this till last. I haven't forgotten about it, but I understand you have a comedy tour coming up. Do you want to tell us a bit more about it? How you got into it in the first place, from back when to now, and when will it be taking place? Where will it be taking place? Tell us everything, man. I want to know more about this.
I can't reveal loads about it, but I can tell you that I've been working on it for a couple of years. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like I say, I used to do it nearly 10 years ago was the last time I actually stood on stage with a microphone and did stuff. But I've always wanted to do like a D&D themed experience where the audience gets involved as well. They don't have to, but they can. The option's there. We're going to have... I don't know, how much can I say?
Everything.
No, there are simplified rules to allow for such what I'm hoping will be a number of people there. But yeah, there's a few dates. It starts in May next year.
Right.
There's a few dates confirmed. It's dotted around the UK in various venues, which I am actually not allowed to say just yet until it's all.
How many? Do you know?
linked
How
up.
many venues?
At the minute, there are 8.
Look at you going on tour. That's awesome.
I can't. Tickets won't be on sale for a while yet. There's going to be some charity things going on as well. Various little games and stuff going on during it. I'm very nervous about it because it's very different to what I've done before. And I'm excited as well. It's going to be fun. Basically, if you want to either learn D&D and you've never played it before and you want to come and and you've had an interest in it and you want to learn, there's an element of that to it. If you want to just come and have a laugh, that's hopefully what I'm aiming for anyway. It's just going to be chill. It's going to be fun. There's going to be stories of various things that happen D&D wise and outside of D&D and TTRPGs in my life. Little few stories sprinkled here and there. But there is, throughout the show, a somewhat campaign, one-shotty type deal, which I know will not be the same. So wherever you come, and whatever venue it might be, on whatever date, your experience is going to be unique to the one I'm doing a couple of days after. So it's going to be it's going to be quite a personal show. It's going to be
of course.
The small venues, they're not big venues, so you're going to have a good group of like-minded people there to have fun, roll some dice, and have a laugh. I can't say too much more than that, but it's until I've had everything written in stone. But it is happening, and tickets will be available soon, and I will be shouting out all the venues once it's ready to be announced. But hope you can make it. But go to seelydnd.com once that's all announced. I'll make a big announcement on Twitter when it's ready, and all the updates will be on there, and you'll be able to buy tickets through it and everything.
Well, hopefully, when we have you back for the final episode of Season 2 of Cal's Questions, we'll be able to know more. I will just keep interviewing you as a final episode every time, and you can tell us more and more about it. That sounds exciting. In which case, then, it is now time to put you on the spot. Do you have anyone that you want to shout out?
There are so many people. Genuinely, Paul, I do want to just say you've been fantastic. All the campaigns you've run, doing all of this as well, with Ampersand Productions and all of that good stuff. I want to thank Lauren, who is an excellent DM for Goblins Hollow, who is probably the first streaming experience I've had with TTRPGs, who welcomed me to the table and streamed. So I want to thank them. I want to thank all the Homebrew Havoc players in Ailey, Tony, and Shiv. I want to thank Derek from DM Studios as well, who has given us a platform to play more, which I'm always happy to do. I want to play as much as possible with the Descent of Avernus and, of course, Curse of Strahd, which unfortunately had to get rescheduled, etc. There are so many. Everyone on Twitter who gives me encouragement and follows me and does all that good stuff and says anything positive about what I do. I really appreciate it. I read every single comment that comes my way, every single DM. Just thank you all so much.
Excellent. Well, shout out to all those people there. Twitter handles will probably be in the description below. And if you have any questions for Callum, please let us know in the comment section down below, and I will be sure to pass them on and probably reply to every single one. Unless there's like over 1,000, in which case I probably won't. But for this season, that is it, Cal. We have done a full season of Cal's questions. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in to all the episodes. It's been an absolute wild ride of, absolute chaos. Who knows? We might clean things up for season 2, but probably not, because this is way more fun. I do have a few ideas for season 2. Got a few ideas for guests who will make me and Cal fangirl all over them. But that should be exciting. So, for the final time this season, Cal, where can we find you?
You can find me at CleeDND on Twitter or CleeDND.com or Ampersand Productions, all of that good stuff. I'm on there too, so come check me out. Say hello.
Excellent. And my name has been Paul, aka Ampersand. You can find me at Ampersand D20 pretty much everywhere, ranging from Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and my Discord, which you'll find in my bio on my Twitter. So just go there. It's pretty much where I live. I stream Thursday, Tuesday, and that's it. Homebrew Havoc, Blaze of the Dark. You can also find me on DMDM Studios every other Saturday, where I DM Cal, and we just play together into Descent into Avernus, which is just going through hell, basically. But
great fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. They've got a pet mimic. That's where we're at in life. We've got a pet mimic. So that is it. We are signing off, and we will see you next season.
See ya.